Hey Curtis,
Hey, Oz.
what movie are you returning with this week?
Again, it's return month. So
Yeah.
this movie, we're returning with Willow meets twins, plus The Last Starfighter meets Furbies. This week we're watching Star Wars Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi.
Oh, Willow.
I realize I'm going to have all the nerds coming after me because I just accidentally stuck a "the" in front of Return. It's not The Return of the Jedi, it's Return of the Jedi. So shut up, nerds!
Yeah. Just like and subscribe and go away, nerd.
Shut up, nerds! Leave me alone!
It's like comic book guys gonna come after you.
Yeah. Battlestar Galactica.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the weekly podcast where we take a monthly theme. This month, August, being Return Month. We both are returning to school this month, as are millions of kids nationwide. So our viewer count's going to go way down because
they've all been with us all summer.
All summer reruns. Summer. But we are back to cover Return of the Jedi, the third installment of the middle trilogy.
Episode 6, Movie 3.
Exactly. The third movie of this, but the sixth story of the second trilogy of George Lucas's
space opera.
Yeah, we're gonna watch this. We're gonna cover this 2-hour commercial.
Yep. This episode brought to you by Kenner.
Exactly. But first, we do want to give a shout out to Patreon subscribers Don S, Aaron A, and Mandy K. Thank you again for your patronage.
Thank you all.
I had Return of the Living Dead last week, and so this is your movie, so I'm going to cover the cast.
Yes. What a cast we have here, Oz.
We do. You know what? Pretty much the same, though.
Yeah, we did cover The Empire Strikes Back several months ago.
Yeah.
And when we did sequels better than the originals.
Right. And so I'm going to kind of quickly go through here because it's Star Wars. If this is your first Star Wars, you still probably recognize all these names. We have Mark Hamill, of course, as Luke Skywalker.
You don't say.
One of the last living Jedi Knights. Harrison Ford playing Han Solo, Captain of the Millennium Falcon, and a popsicle at the beginning of this movie. Carrie Fisher is Leia Organa. Apparently she's dropped the princess part now, which makes sense considering that Alderaan is destroyed, so she really has nothing to be princess of.
She can't be princess of a planet that's blown up.
Right. Billy D. Williams shows up as Lando Calrissian a couple different times. I really like. I've always liked Landau's character, and so to see it, I won't even say it fleshed out in this, but it's just he's one of a gang now.
Yeah, he could have been just sort of a throwaway character from Empire, but I'm really glad that they brought him back and expanded his role.
Right. And so that's kind of our human leads. We've got C-3PO and R2-D2 played by Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker pulling double duty this movie as he's also playing an Ewok.
Yeah.
Peter Mayhew is back as Chewbacca. Ian McDermott is the Emperor. Frank Oz in a brief scene with Yoda, which turns into one of my favorite memes. You know, when your kids are asking you so many questions, you just die. David Prowse is Darth Vader, voiced by James Earl Jones. Alec Guinness shows up very briefly as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then we get Turd Sandwich Hayden Christensen coming back as a Force ghost. I hated that move.
Oh, God, yeah. I get a feeling that's going to come back up a little later on in the show as well, from at least one of us.
I left that out of my 3-2-1s, but
it's a possible for me.
Yeah, I hated that move. So
yeah.
And
Turd Sandwich.
We do have Sebastian Shaw, not Sebastian Stan. Don't be confused.
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. As a maskless Darth Vader. I almost said David Vader. Sebastian Shaw's back as Big Van Vader.
David Darth Vader. Big Van Vader. That'd be great if he had the everything from shoulders down with Darth Vader, but then he had the big Van Vader like leather mask on his face.
Yeah, like the big like elephant head or whatever.
I
And
guess
he takes it off, and he's got like he's got the suspenders over.
Yeah.
His
I guess like people didn't like wrestling Vader because he was really stiff in the ring.
I can see that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And like he would legitimately hurt people.
Yeah, like Brock Lesnar and Goldberg are about the same. Just like I go full speed all the time.
Yeah.
But so that's it for the cast. You know, and then 7,000 people in costumes.
Of course, yeah.
Whatever. All right, so I'm gonna step back and let you run the show.
All right. Well, again, you had the characters this week, so I got the plot. I'll do my best to hit the high spots here because, again, it's a Star Wars movie. There's all sorts of shenanigans and characters and things are going on. So we start with the classic Star Wars crawl. A long time ago in a galaxy far away. Basically, again, like all these Star Wars movies, it lays out the basic plot where you're entering the movie at. Luke's back to Tatooine, his home planet, to rescue Han Solo from the clutches. I don't know why that word. I put that in all caps just because, why not? Clutches of Jabba the Hutt. The Galactic Empire has secretly been building a second Death Star. So that's where we're at here as we start.
Do you think Luke's kind of introverted?
Introverted?
Yeah. I say this because I've not been back to my hometown in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do, I kind of go out of my way to like not run into people. and so like Luke is first time back to Tatooine pretty much since he left, and he shows up in like disguise.
Yeah. He's got the big dark cloak over him.
Exactly. I don't want anybody to see me. Like, you're on a desert planet walking around in a black cloak. Like, you're drawing attention to yourself.
Speaking of hometowns, Oz, I don't know if you saw this on the old Facebook or not. I came across, I was cleaning some stuff out, an actual newspaper clipping of my high school's, my graduating class's prom court, which I was a part of. Again, we had 30-something people in our graduating class, and there was 14 of us on prom court. So this is definitely not a humble brag from me.
This is the haves and the have-nots of prom.
Yeah, and there was 2 people who were not on court because they were already the homecoming king and queen.
Oh god.
So
so it's just whoever's at school that day.
Basically, yeah, whoever showed up for the picture is on court. So yeah, like that was a treat to find that. I threw that on the old Facebook. Yeah, that
one of my favorite pictures I remember, and of course I was never part of your hometown growing up, but I do remember the fond story of when you guys were going to make a movie with, were you a robot?
Yep.
And you guys like infiltrated the town parade.
Yep. Robot Randy.
Yeah.
Yep. We got a spot in the Beecher parade. The next town north.
Beecher.
Is it the Beecher parade? Yeah. We were promoting the movie that was never meant to be.
Yeah, that's okay.
That was a fun time.
Which next week on Let's Talk About Flicks, we'll be covering movies.
Well, yes, Return of Robot Randy.
Yeah. It's a new movie came out last year. You guys have heard of it as RRR. So
yeah,
actually, Return of Robot Randy.
Yeah, Return of Robot Randy.
Yeah, it was picked up by a foreign market, and they made it in their own native language.
Yeah. So after the opening crawl, the Star Wars crawl, we pan down and we see the under construction Death Star Deuce there. Shuttle emerges from a local Star Destroyer. It's Vader. So the Imperial March plays as he lands on Death Star Deuce, tells Moff Jerjerrod, pick up the pace. The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am. I always love that line in this movie.
Yeah, because Vader's known for his patience.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, we're on Tatooine, so we're back to where we started in A New Hope. 3PO and R2 arrive at Jabba's palace. They go inside. R2 plays Jabba. A message from Luke. Luke introduces himself as a Jedi Knight and wants to bargain for Solo's life. Jabba, my friend, will not give up his favorite decoration. They pan over to the still frozen in carbonite Han Solo on the wall. Luke then offers the droids as a gift to Jabba, which R2 seemed to be okay with, but 3PO took him by a bit of surprise.
Well, I think Luke's smart enough now after all this time with the droids to know the less C-3PO knows in advance, probably the better.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not known for having a cool head in tough
Yeah.
situations.
He goes a little Tom Holland on with plot device.
Let's see. Later, a bounty hunter arrives to collect the bounty for Chewbacca. So Chewbacca is led in by this bounty hunter who has a thermal detonator to use as a negotiating tactic. I always love the line from Jabba, "This bounty hunter is my kind of scum."
Yeah, like I like kuka, something like that.
That's some good Huttese there, by the way.
Yeah, well, I work on it.
You're very fluent in Huttese. I think that's on Duolingo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, or Babbel.
Yep. Yeah, you pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that night, the bounty hunter sneaks in through Jabba's throne room, frees Han from the carbonite, and reveals it's actually Leia in disguise. However, they are taken captive.
Yep.
Yep.
All part of the plan.
Yep. Which, again, I might come up a little later on.
It comes up on mine.
Okay, got it. Later, Luke arrives, force chokes 2 guards. I guess it's the only time in the original trilogy where Luke uses the Force offensively.
Okay.
I never picked up on that. I was reading the trivia for this. I'm like, oh yeah, that is right. Mind tricks Bib Fortuna to get access to Jabba. By the way, nerds, I'm trying to do the right thing here and get all the names right. So,
yeah. By the way, nerds.
Nerds.
Let's not kid ourselves. You and I are both nerds.
Yes, yeah, we are in that crowd. But like,
yeah.
I would consider you and I to be like an 8 out of 10 in like the Star Wars fandom and whatnot.
I wouldn't take myself as high as 8.
Okay, maybe I'm an 8. You're a 7.
Yeah, I would give it something more like that.
Okay, but it's still, like, we're definitely in the fandom, but we're not we're not trolling people on Twitter because
right now I'm probably more ogre from Revenge of the Nerds. Like like how
nerds.
He goes full nerd at the end and especially in part 2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he that's giving away my Revenge of the Nerds fandom.
That's one of my favorite gifs to use is just is ogre screaming nerds. I think he's in like the locker room from the first movie.
Well, no, he's on top of the Alpha Beta house as they're holding a nerd by his ankle.
Oh yeah,
he's overboard, and then he sees Lewis,
and he starts chanting. Yeah,
he's Lewis Skolnick, and that's what he starts. Nerds!
Yes,
and they all start chanting. Yeah,
great movie that has that's a little problematic as it's aged, but we can save that for whenever we decide to cover Revenge.
Speaking of Darth Vader,
yeah, there you go. Yeah, that scene in particular, very problematic. Back to Return of the Jedi, Luke's mind trick does not work on Jabba. After a little back and forth there, Jabba drops Luke into the Rancor pit, Oz. Oh, I love the Rancor.
Oh yeah,
such
great creature.
Yeah. So there's a little back and forth. Eventually, Luke throws a rock at a control panel, which drops this like spiked gate onto the Rancor's head. But very cool scene there.
Former AA pitcher on Tatooine. Luke. I mean, it was perfect strike to hit that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he's also a southpaw too.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had a lot going for him until, his aunt and uncle got burnt alive. And he had to leave.
Yeah, why do they have to get so crispy? Later, Jabba's on his sail barge. He's taken Han, Luke, and Chewie to feed to the Sarlaac, the big monster pit that you throw people into. As Luke is about to be dropped into the Sarlaac, R2 shoots his lightsaber into the air. A big fight ensues. Luke's got his lightsaber. Boba Fett flies in, gets hit, falls into the Sarlacc, as well as several other guards. Lando almost falls in, Oz. On the barge, Leia takes advantage of the panic because she's a hostage there, and chokes Jabba to death with a chain.
Oh, yeah.
That was a pretty graphic scene. I remember as a kid being a little like, ooh, that was... Yeah.
The Rebels are going all out.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so Leia chokes him out. They eventually, at blowing up the entire sail barge with all of the heroes escaping. And what I really enjoy the Jabba stuff. I know some fans are a little iffy on it. I think it's a nice little diversion from the Empire. Right. And it shows, the bigger universe. And,
like there's other things going on besides, the Rebel versus the Empire.
Yeah. Well, and it pays off, what Han was getting at in A New Hope about, there's a bounty on his head and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So, it's got the through line, as they say. So we cut to a shot of them flying off Tatooine. The Millennium Falcon is heading to regroup with the Rebel fleet while Luke's X-Wing goes back to Dagobah. We go back to Death Star 2. The Imperial March is playing again, Oz. And Emperor Palpatine arrives in the flesh. I love his like red Death Troop regards too.
Oh yeah. Oh, I do too. I really, I like the attention to the different levels of trooper.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see it in Rogue One as well. Like there are beach troopers, and I just like the different divisions of the Imperial troopers.
I'm trying to think what other settings could you have.
Yeah.
80s shopping mall troopers.
I was gonna say mall troopers, where they're on just segways.
There's like ballpark hot dog man troopers, where they have the little steam tray with them.
Right. There's the bathroom attendant trooper.
It's got the towel over his arm.
Yep. Holding out Andy's mints.
Little bow tie.
Maitre d' trooper.
Oh God. So Palpatine predicts that Luke tells Vader, Luke will seek you out, and that Vader, you're going to bring Luke to me.
Yeah.
On Dagobah, Luke is talking with a dying Yoda. When 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Miss Biggie.
Yeah. Yoda tells Luke, you don't need any more training, but you must confront Vader. And when asked, Yoda confirms that Vader is indeed Luke's father.
Yeah, I'd read in the trivia, I'm sure you did too, that pretty much the only reason for Luke's trip to Dagobah is so that Yoda could confirm Vader was his father. Yeah. Because, I mean, the only person we've heard it from this far is Vader, which could have just been making it up. Mm-hmm. So, but afterwards, I guess, after Empire, there were several people in the reviewer community that are like, how do we know Vader was telling the truth? Well, Yoda tells him. So
yeah, he confirms it. Yeah.
This whole space opera has just been one big secret to keep from the Skywalker twins. Oh, sorry, foreshadowing. We weren't supposed to know about the Skywalker twins in episode 6 because we learned about that in episode 3. Which comes out later.
Yeah. Yoda warns Luke of the dark side. Don't underestimate the Emperor. And then Yoda dies, Oz. And just like how Obi-Wan kind of faded away in A New Hope, he does the same thing. Force Ghost Obi-Wan then shows up. And kind of... Obi-Wan plays kind of coy here. Because Luke's like, why did you lie to me? What I told you was true from a certain point of view. Like, shut up, Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Everything's from a certain point of view.
Yeah, what I told you was true from a certain point of view.
He
fit perfectly in today's political landscape.
You beat me to it. That's like Kellyanne Conway's alternative facts.
Yeah, that's right. You just believe what you want.
Obi-Wan's MAGA.
Yeah, totally.
Obi-Wan admits to Luke that I failed in the training of Anakin Vader. I failed your father. And Obi-Wan kind of confirms something that Yoda was saying as he died, that Luke has a twin sister who was hidden away when they were born. And as you inferred there, Oz, it's Leia. Luke and Leia.
Considering we've only met one other female in the first 2 movies, who else could it be?
Yeah. It was the Twi'lek dancer who was also dropped into the Rancor pit.
It was her. Should have known.
Uh-oh. Didn't get there in time. On the Rebel command ship, Mon Mothma and Admiral Akbar himself unveil their plans to destroy the second Death Star, and they have confirmation that the Emperor is there overseeing the final steps. Han will lead a small troop to the local forest moon of Endor to destroy the base, generating a shield around the Death Star too. Chewie, Leia, and Luke will go with on the stolen Imperial shuttle. And then Lando will lead the fleet, flying the Millennium Falcon against the Death Star 2. Once the shield is dropped, they'll fly into the Death Star and blow it up. So that's the plan, Oz.
That's the plan.
See it. Yep.
when we speak about it just so like flippantly,
Mm-hmm.
this this is a very long movie with a very short plot.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it really, really is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you just nailed it. This movie, we got to blow up this other Death Star.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go there, and you're gonna go there, and I'm gonna go here.
Yeah.
And merchandising.
Spaceballs, the flamethrower.
Right.
So Han and his crew fly the stolen shuttle to the Endor moon. I love the line is, they're trying to transmit a passage code, a clearance code, and Chewie's kind of doubting Han, and Han's, of course, you don't understand Chewie,
Right, at all.
but like, but you understand what he's saying based on Han's responses, and Han's like, keep your distance, but don't look like you're keeping your distance. Fly casual. Those lines always crack
It's
me
like,
up.
it was. It reminds me of like Loaded Weapon 1, where where they're like, I think we're being followed.
Yeah.
And they're like,
And the guys are in the back seat. Don't turn.
look.
Don't turn. So I'm gonna try to lose him.
Right. It's like, yeah, just follow, but don't look like you're following.
Another movie that we've referenced. I love how all of our references so far are to movies we've already covered.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's for our viewers and listeners.
Yeah. So go check out our National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 episode.
Yeah. We haven't covered the sequel yet.
So Vader recognizes that Luke is on the shuttle, and he's onto him, but they still allow him to pass and continue their mission. Down on the moon, they've landed. Solo's team, along with R2 and 3PO, they try to get the drop on some speeder troops, but they fail, and so Luke and Leia hop on another speeder, and there's a little kind of like chase dog fight there in the woods. I guess how they shot that, Oz. What was it?
I saw this, but go ahead, because it's really cool.
Yeah, so they gave a Steadicam operator. They just had him walk through one of the big forests in California, shooting 1 frame rate per second.
Right. Which is, you need 24 frames to make 1 second of footage.
Mm-hmm.
So with this being 1 frame per second, I mean, it is 24 times slower than it should be, which is just ridiculously slow.
And it looks great.
Oh yeah, it really does. Like, I love these behind the scenes little tidbits on like these movie making tricks. They're just because there's quote unquote, there's just so much magic on screen of all these films, and then to hear just some of the extremely creative ways that they're using just modern technology to achieve what they need to achieve. I love the technical creation of cinema and just the problem solving that crews take, and I just think it's so cool.
Well, and it's another one of those where like this was pre-CG, and you can easily see something like that just being done CG nowadays.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
like
it looks authentic. Great. It looks great.
Yeah.
So Luke and Leia are separated. Leia is taken in by the Ewoks, the local bipedal teddy bears.
Exactly. Yeah.
Han and Luke find Leia's destroyed speeder. They fear the worst, and then they are captured by the Ewoks in a very Bugs Bunny-esque net trap.
Yes, yeah, and we know the Ewoks are safe because the score alludes to something very safe.
Yes,
it's just a cute piece of music, and so you're like, these guys are safe. Like, how do you know they're safe? Leia, Leia just instantly, just like, you're small and furry, you're safe.
Mm-hmm. The Ewoks believe that 3PO is a god, and they go to cook Han in 3PO's honor. Luke levitates 3PO using the Force to demonstrate his anger with the Ewoks. So they release the rebels and reunite with Leia.
Which of course 3PO has no idea what's going on.
No. Yeah, I love the line. Yeah, Luke says thanks 3PO, and 3PO goes, I never knew I had it in me. There's some great little comedy lines in this movie that work well. Luke tells Leia that Vader is his father and that they are siblings. They're twins. Luke leaves to then confront Vader, convinced he can turn Vader from the dark side.
Do you think that Luke and Leia are united outside and in? like the theme song to the DeVito Schwarzenegger movie.
That's right.
United outside and in.
Twins. Another movie we've also covered. Oh, so we've referenced Empire, we've referenced Twins, we've referenced Loaded Weapon. Yeah, go check out the back catalog of Let's Talk About Flicks, folks.
Wait till we get like, what was it? The boyfriend and Christmas, you, me, and the Christmas trees. We'll get that.
Yeah, we'll work that reference. This episode is basically turning into like a clips episode, where there's like 5 minutes of new footage, and then it's just, hey, hey, Oz, do you remember when
wrong Ewok died?
On the road to 20,000. Oh God, yeah. So Luke goes off to confront Vader. Vader is in the meantime arrived on the moon base. Luke has surrendered himself. Luke tries to convince his father to turn, but he won't. Vader takes Luke to the Emperor on the Death Star sequel. After the Rebel fleet has jumped to hyperspace, Oz, the Ewoks then show Han the Shield base's back door, its secret entrance. Han's team goes in and starts planting explosives, but they are quickly captured. Vader, in the meantime, so we're in Act 3 here. So at this point, for our listeners, there's kind of 3 plot threads that are going here.
Yeah.
So there's the moon, the Endor base, the Endor moon base with the shield generator,
where Han and Leia are.
Yeah, Han and Leia are. We now have Luke, Vader, and Palpatine up on the Death Star 2.
Right.
And we have Lando leading the fleet.
And Akbar.
Yeah, and Akbar. Leading the fleet. So, and there's a lot of editing and jumping around from these plot threads, so bear with me as
But thankfully, though, like, the scenery of all 3 of them when watching the movie is so vastly different that you know exactly where you are. Like,
yeah.
Which is a relief, because again, 3 plot lines sometimes can be too much. But again, like, they all happen at the same time. But again, you know where you're at.
Yeah.
Because they're so different.
There's good editing and storytelling in this act
really
here. Yeah, to make all of those 3 work and still have the emotional weight behind each of them.
Right.
So Vader takes Luke to the Emperor up on the Death Star 2, and he tempts Luke to attack him, trying to drum up his hate and anger, trying to turn Luke to the dark side. Palpatine reveals they know of the rebels' pitiful little band on the moon base, and that this was all, as Akbar will soon say, a trap. The fleet then arrives on the Death Star 2. Wedge is there. I love how Wedge appears. The Wedge Antilles character appears in all 3 of the original movies as well. Just a nice little through line. Right. Lando somehow figures out that the Empire is jamming their signals, and that the shield is still up.
He hates raspberry. That's 4.
There we go. Yep, because we've also covered Spaceballs.
Right.
To which Admiral Akbar, Oz, I'll let you take this one, gives the infamous line here, Oz.
It's a trap.
Yep. The fighters TIE fighters then attack the rebels as the Star Destroyers lie in wait.
Because Lando figured out, like, they're coming in hot, but they were getting there was no fight coming back at them.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, this is like, why aren't they fighting back? And they're like, because the shields are still up.
How could they be jamming us?
Right.
They don't know if we're coming. Pull up.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. On the moon, the rebel team is taken outside the base, and Oz, at this point, let the sails roll in. The Ewoks attack.
Yeah.
Using primitive weapon. Some attacks are effective.
Yeah.
Some are not. And I do like the back and forth between, like there's the one Ewok who's like on the foot of the AT-ST, just like hitting it with a hammer.
Right, yeah. That's not going to work.
Yeah. But some of the other ones are effective, so.
It's not in my hunts, but I would like to know how the Ewoks so quickly got 2 giant tree trunks at the exact height they needed to be. in
that
preparation for this attack.
yes, that is. I'll go ahead and that was one of my possible huhs. Is
Yeah.
how did the Ewoks stage this that quickly? Like, was
Yeah.
it already set up? Yeah, like you said, like the two big logs, or
Yeah.
like the logs held back that they pull the rope and they all roll down.
Well, it's much like there's other things going on in the galaxy besides the Rebel and Empire fight.
Yes.
I think Endor probably had a predator problem, and therefore like they've been fighting back against a series of predators for a millennium, and so this is just they're Schwarzeneggering the woods.
Yeah.
In preparation, and they just happen to be ready.
That would also explain why they were all caked in mud. Predator, which we've also covered.
Yeah. I may or may not be doing this on purpose.
Yeah, at this point, it's just a game. Just like in Story of Ricky, where
Right.
the bad guy falls in the meat grinder.
Right.
Oh, where are we? Oh, the fighters are attacking, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the Ewoks. Han and Leia called R2 to the gate to reopen the base, but he's shot in short circuits. In the space fight, Admiral Piet aboard the Super Star Destroyer says, "We're not attacking. We have special orders. The Emperor has something planned. We just have to make sure that the rebels can't escape." So that's why this has not escalated even further outside.
Right.
The Emperor then orders the commander to fire at will. The Death Star 2 then fires a huge blast, blowing up one of the big rebel cruiser ships, one of the big command ships.
Yeah.
So the Death Star is operational despite the fact that it looks halfway done.
Right. Which was smart on the Empire's part.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to build a giant space gun, let's get the gun ready.
Yeah. Let's focus our efforts on that. Yeah. We got so Akbar orders a full retreat, but Lando's like, Han will have that shield down. We've got to give him more time. I love how Lando, like how Billy D. Williams mispronounces Han and calls him Han.
Han.
Han will have that shield down.
Trust Pan, he'll get it done.
My man Han will have it down.
Just calling him Pam Solo.
Pam. Are you saying Pam?
Yeah. Billy D didn't read the script.
Pan? In the dogfight, another rebel cruiser is blown up as Lando orders all craft, including the cruisers, to engage the Death Stars at point blank range, because otherwise they'd be firing on their own. The Death Star would be firing right into the Star Destroyers. That's the only way that they can hold out here, is to go up against the fleet of Star Destroyers head on.
Yeah.
It just shows how desperate the rebels are. On the Death Star, Luke summons his lightsaber, strikes at the Empire, but Vader is there to defend him as Palpatine laughs, and Vader and Luke start a great lightsaber duel.
Yeah.
On the moon, Chewie and two Ewoks commandeer an AT-ST in the Tarzan cry swing that a lot of your nerds don't like.
Yeah, I noticed it.
Leia is shot in the arm, and she and Han are almost captured, and we get the callback to the "I love you, I know" scene from The Empire Strikes Back. Luke and Vader continue to duel. Vader's taunting Luke, saying, "I'm gonna, maybe if I can't turn you, I'm gonna turn your sister." Luke emerges incredibly upset, just anger, and just takes it to Vader and eventually cuts Vader's arm off.
Right, yeah.
Like Vader cut off his arm in Empire. Back on the moon, Han's team ends up blowing up the shield deflector station, so it's down. In the meantime, Palpatine tells Luke, your hate has made you powerful. Kill Vader and be my apprentice like your father was. Luke throws away his lightsaber. I'm a Jedi like my father before me. So Palpatine starts shooting Force lightning into him as Luke cries for his father. And then as we get another little thing that was plugged in, we get the no.
It was bad then, it's bad now.
Yeah. As Vader picks up Palpatine, still firing Force lightning from his hands, throws him down a gigantic shaft. Vader, in the process, has been hit by the Force lightning and is barely alive.
What did you think of getting hit by the Force lightning and seeing the overimposed skeletons and skulls. And
it's cheesy, but whatever.
I'm that way too. I'm like, what?
No.
Because at least that's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
That
was in the original edit. Yeah, the no, which was just added like 10 years ago.
Right.
No.
Because Hayden Christensen did such a fine job with it that we need to bring that back. I'm totally fine with like the Wilhelm scream in every movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine because that's just fun. But
what was that again?
I'll add it and I'll reloop it
in post. Okay.
Yes,
because this is a clip show, so we may as well show clips from this episode. So we're done with the with one of the 3 plot threads. We're done on the moon base. The Ewoks and the rebels, they blew up the shield generator. Luke and Vader and Palpatine are up on the Death Star. Palpatine's dead. So there's really only one main... actually, I'll just end the Vader Luke Palpatine thing now. So Palpatine's dead. Luke drags Vader's body. In the meantime, the Super Star Destroyer has crashed into the second Death Star.
Yeah.
So an evacuation has been called. And Anakin, I'll call him Anakin from this point forward, tells Luke, take my mask off. I want to look at you with my own eyes. And which Luke does. And they have a brief conversation. And then Anakin dies.
Yeah.
Right there. With Luke holding him. So those 2 plot threads are done. The only one we got left is the dogfight. With the shields down, Lando and Wedge lead some of the fighters into the second Death Star, as opposed to A New Hope, where they just have to fire a missile into like a vent. They actually have to fly into it, the second Death Star. I loved the sequence as a kid. So they're flying into the Death Star. Eventually, they end up in the core. Wedge takes about a big piece of the core, and then the Falcon takes out the rest. And then they make their escape, and you get the great sequence of the Falcon shooting out of the flames as the second Death Star is on fire and eventually explodes
in space.
Yes, all that fire in space, but physics be darned.
Fiction for a reason.
We have our epilogue scene here. Oh, in the meantime, Luke also escaped. I should mention that as well. He escapes the second Death Star on a shuttle as well. On the moon, the Ewoks and the rebels down there see it explode, and then they all celebrate. Han and Leia share a kiss. Leia reveals to Han that she and Luke are indeed brother and sister.
Right.
And then we get a couple little epilogue moments here. Luke burns Anakin on a pyre as a Jedi funeral. And then during the celebration in this Ewok village, we get some more new footage spliced in here, Oz. We get we see different planets, different cultures and communities around the galaxy celebrating the fall of the Empire. We see Mos Eisley on Tatooine. We see Naboo. We see Coruscant. We see Bespin, the Cloud City, and And then as the others celebrate, Luke sees the Force ghost of Yoda and Obi-Wan, and then depending on which version you watch, we watch the newest version. We then see the Hayden Christensen version of Anakin, which of course Luke would have no idea who that is.
Not a clue. And you know what? Hayden Christensen looked like he didn't know what was going on. Like the others are looking at Luke kind of waving, and Hayden Christensen's looking around like, what?
Yeah, and I'm now a Force ghost.
Right.
We get one last shot of them all celebrating together, and then Oz, that's it. That is Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
At this point in the show, folks, Oz and I each give our own unique rating to the movie we've been yapping about, in this case, Return of the Jedi. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
Oh, I'm going to give it 8 Admiral Akbar traps.
8 traps!
That's what I'm going to give it. Mm-hmm. What do you got for it?
Oh, I didn't even think about this one. I'm going to go with, let's go 87 sad dead Ewoks.
They were sad.
Yeah, that was a sad moment. Which, that moment is actually going to come up a little later, because I have a personal story that's going to be one of my bads. Next up, folks, our next segment, Outside Insight. Oz and I have been scouring the interwebs, searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well. Oz, what is your Outside Insight?
I'm going to defer. I just looked at my notes and realized I didn't grab an outside insight.
Oh, okay.
Let me grab one. You go
Got it.
ahead.
I put down 3. I'm trying to decide which one. Maybe as you look, we'll see. Maybe I'll do more of them. I'm going to start with this first one from the Internet Movie Database called Revenge of the Teddy Bears. This is from Torso, left in October of 1998. How can any adult who enjoyed Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back possibly find anything entertaining or even interesting about this abysmal, unimaginative travesty? A genuinely bad movie, truly awful in every possible way. Jedi features a screenplay aimed squarely at 4-year-olds and absolutely terrible acting from an understandably embarrassed cast. As a direct follow-up to Empire, one of the most entertaining and inventive fantasy movies of the last 20 years, Jedi comes across as insulting spit in the face from George Lucas. And those god-awful teddy bears. Is there anyone out there over the age of 4 who doesn't cringe in horror at just the mere thought of those monstrously cute creatures?
Cringe in horror.
Over the age of 4. So, yeah. Torso clearly doesn't like
No.
Return of the Jedi. Again, this movie has its flaws, Oz.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still a good movie. It still tells a good story. I think it's inventive in the effects and how it manages the story arcs. Yes, I can kind of give or take the Ewoks. I get that, but
yeah,
it's still a good movie. How you doing over there, buddy?
I'm good. I think I got one.
Go ahead.
This is a half-star review by Derek, left April 14th last year. A redemption arc for the child murderer? Where is my Star Wars? This isn't my America. Don't forget. That's right, it's not America. Don't forget, this man hates sand. I have a son, and we love football, and he lives in Arizona, in a federal prison surrounded by sand. He's seen 2 UFOs. That's 2 more than you, George. Have you ever been to space? Get back to your farm and make a real movie, like Gone with the Wind. Ever heard of it? Or how about The Sandlot? Classic. But no, I'm sure Mr. Lucas and his conspirers don't want to remember the golden days. Has Darth Vader ever even played football? Get real, dirtbag. God loves football and God hates child murderers. So guess what? God hates Star Wars now, and he'll hate you if you like it. Hey parents, what do you think will happen if your kid watches Star Wars? Well, I won't say it because I'm too much of a man, but I'll say this. It ain't good.
Wow, that ended on a very threatening note.
Yeah.
Hey parents, I'm coming for you if you let your kids watch Star Wars.
Thanks, Derek.
Because by the transitive property, if you watch Star Wars, you're also a child murderer?
Yeah. I click on Derek's account. His favorite films are Nashville, Lady Vengeance, Rosemary's Baby, and Titan, the make love to a car movie from last year.
Oh, okay.
His recent activity has been just Harry Potter movies.
In which nobody dies.
No. Matter of fact, the last one got 5 stars out of him. Oh, I might have to watch this guy. He says Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. He goes, that's Rosemary's Baby for nerds.
So many similarities.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So that's my diamond in the rough.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great find, spur of the moment.
Has Darth Vader even played football?
America.
He has a helmet on. Why isn't he playing football?
All right, folks, it's that point in the show you've all been waiting for, the 3, 2, 1, our signature segment. At this point, Oz and I will each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the movie in question, in this case, 1983's Return of the Jedi. Hey, Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first good is the increased amount of non-blaster saber deaths in this movie.
Okay.
Stormtroopers smashing, disintegrating when they're crashing their speeder into the trees. Leia choking Jabba. Just there's just a lot. I just feel like a lot more non-Star Warsian violence in this one,
Sure.
and it just like you mentioned earlier, it kind of you mentioned earlier in a different vein. It shows how desperate the rebels have become, and I think we're kind of there too, a little bit of like, that they're just using whatever they can, and it's not too much, but it is noticeable. Like just like we mentioned earlier, like Leia and the in the choking out Jabba on the sail barge, and like the Ewoks smashing that the head of that crawler. Like there's people inside there. Like there's just the ramifications when you think about it. It's like, oh, that was kind of fun. I'm like, no, they just like those people are murdered now.
They're swooshed.
Yeah, and so that's my first good. Is just upping the I don't want to call it violence level because that's not what I mean, but just upping the effort of where it's unlike the first one where you see 720 different colored blaster shots and then one person gets hit.
Yeah.
This just had a little bit more weight to it, I guess. My second one is just how immediately Leia viewed Wicket as non-threatening.
Yeah.
Like he's holding a spear to her and she's just like leans back, relaxes, and like like it's just you're not threatening to me.
No.
And it just goes, and it's coming up here, with my next batch, but it just shows that we're at the point where, because of how Lucas has gotten his contracts written, that we're all for merchandising now.
Yeah.
And so here's a new breed. These guys are super cute. And don't worry, kids, they're not scary. Like, Leia's not even afraid.
Look, that badger's holding a spear to my throat. Aww. Exactly.
But he's fine. He's fine. Because she's a good guy, so he's not going to hurt her. And my third good is just Vader being a family man. Even if, the no is really obnoxious, just seeing that there is a shred of life still in him. And while the Emperor was talking a big game, it wasn't until the Emperor actually started attacking Luke that Vader was like, that's, it's like, nobody's going to attack my son but me.
Yeah,
and,
that's my boy.
That's right. And so, it was a nice ending to that, what we at the time thought was a Vader character arc.
The particularly bad case of somebody being cut in half.
Didn't realize how easy it is. Cut in half by machete. So those are my three goods. What do you got?
Oh God, my three goods. I got several down here. I'm going to start with. I'll start with just a moment. I love it's right at the beginning of the movie. We're on Tatooine and 3PO and R2 go up to Jabba's door. And 3PO just barely taps on the door with his hand. Like he doesn't even use a fist. He just kind of taps on it with his fingertips, and then immediately turns to R2 and says, "Well, guess nobody's home. Let's get." Again, it's just one of those moments. There's several moments in this movie that just have some really fun little humor in it, and I appreciate it. In this kind of movie. And so that's one of them. Just 3PO just barely tapping. Oh, guess no one's here. Yep. My second one, oh God, let's go with I'll state the obvious, the effects. The effects are amazing in this. The miniatures, the Rancor, everything in this movie. Again, pre-CG, just how imaginative these people are that did this. And as a kid, that space dogfight scene was always my favorite moment from the original trilogy. Like as a kid, I probably watched Return of the Jedi more than the others, just because the effects are that good, and it was that fun really for me. It was like 10-year-old Curtis watching these X-wings and A-wings, go up against these TIE fighters and these huge cruisers fired at each other. It was just amazing work. And let's go for my last one. Oh, I'm gonna go with Wedge appearing in all three movies. I mentioned it a little before, but one of those kind of a character who could be seen as a throwaway character. But
easy. But
I love how the Wedge Antilles appears in all three movies, and there's even not that there's a lot of character to him, But like in the first one, he's the one as they're flying up to the first Death Star. And he goes like, "Wow, look at the size of that," and he kind of gets reprimanded. And now he's like co-captaining everything.
Yeah, he's worked his way up.
Yeah, so he's much more assured. He's beyond competent as a dogfighter pilot. And so yeah, just Wedge Antilles. There's a nugget for you nerds out there. So hey Oz, what are your two bads for Return of the Jedi?
My first bad is that stupid CGI musical performance in Jabba's
Oh my!
Palace.
If you weren't going to mention that, I was. Oh God, it is awful.
It is borderline worth turning the movie off if you haven't seen it. Like you're going to miss out on a great movie, but just abysmal choice.
Yeah.
CGI was not yet at a point when Lucas decided to start shoehorning things into the movie. It's such a clash with what's already there that it hurts to watch.
It is a terrible scene.
And it adds nothing.
No.
Nothing. Not that really any of his additions added much.
Yes, some were okay, but this was one that just why? I don't understand why you're trying to do
terrible. And so that's my first bad. My second one is just overall, so many decisions were clearly made for merchandising purposes.
Yeah.
And it kept the plot progression really slow. Like we mentioned earlier, very simple plot to this movie, really. Overall, the overarching story is Empire's building another Death Star, we better go shut that down. But we spend so much time with the Ewoks on Tatooine, or not Tatooine, sorry, Endor, that it's like clearly, and then knowing after the fact how, George Lucas controlled all the merchandising, et cetera, it's like, we get it, there's still Star Wars toys lining the aisles in stores today. And so, yeah, that's my second one. Is just there just seemed to be several, I won't say new characters, but just characters that are getting a lot of screen time so that Kenner can push out a doll.
Yeah, Nien Nub, the co-pilot with Lando.
Yeah.
Yeah, Akbar.
Yeah. And it's like, and you had them. I mean, you could buy them on shelves. So that's my second bad.
Yeah.
And outside of the shoehorn CGI. They're really, it was a pretty tight film, but that first musical performance was just, I'd forgotten about it, and then I saw her come up there with her big stupid lips, and was like, oh man.
And then the male singer comes up and deep throats the camera.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
They're cartoons. Like that's how poor the CGI is. That they're cartoon characters.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
I'm trying to decide. I got like 5 possibilities here. I'm gonna go do a couple of runner-ups with runner-up bads, special mentions, honorable mentions. The fandom's perception of Ewoks. Again, I could kind of give or take the Ewoks, but I like this. I had at the school I'm at. I am the advisor or co-advisor for our comics, manga, and fandoms club. So it's basically just an hour a week. We just talk about nerdy stuff and give those kids a safe forum to be themselves and talk about things. And every year we take at least one meeting and we just talk about how to manage toxic fandoms.
Okay.
And Star Wars can have a huge toxic fandom, and that Ewok thing is just a big example of that.
A lot of gatekeepers to the Star Wars.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, you're not worthy of being a Star Wars fan. We mentioned before Hayden Christensen as the Force Ghost. Like the Jedi's insistence of burying personal feelings. It's very Catholic in a way.
Yeah.
So those are all my runners up.
Did Darth Vader even play football?
It's clearly he didn't. I learned all my life lessons from football.
God loves football and God hates child murderers.
In that order.
So says Derek.
So Derek, yeah. My 2 actual bads. Let's see. The first one will be several big name directors either passed on this or were considered for it. David Lynch passed on this to do Dune. David Cronenberg passed on this to do Videodrome. And Paul Verhoeven was also considered at one point.
all three made smart choices, because I would love to see all three of them take
Yeah.
a stab at this, especially at that time in their careers, but um like, I think the Harry Potter universe did something similar.
Hmm.
It's like they had Chris Columbus direct the first two, and then I'm going to say they brought in like Alfonso Cuarón
Yeah, did the
to do
like
the
the fourth
third one,
one?
and
Yeah.
it was noticeably different, like darker, like just because that's just how he is, and
Mhm.
it wasn't off, but it was like, well, yeah, this is not the same vibe I got from Home Alone Chris Columbus in the first two.
I'd love to see just like the four different versions of Return of the Jedi. There's the
Oh yeah,
Richard Marquand Lucas version, and then there's the David Lynch version, in which
yeah.
half the movie is just the Millennium Falcon like flying along a road at night with the yellow stripes going by.
Somehow he's got high beams on.
Yeah. There's the Cronenberg version in which Boba Fett and the Sarlacc merge into one being.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, and in that Lynch version, there's an Ewok always carrying a log. Stop at a space diner and gets carried
talking
high.
backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah. In the Verhoeven version, like Han's arms both get ripped off.
And the like CGI like deep throating singer at the beginning
Yeah.
he's instead just telling everybody he'll buy it for $1. And in the Lynch version, when Vader dies, they just wrap him in plastic and leave him on the beach. And then we get a 3-season miniseries
Yeah.
about who killed Darth Vader.
Oh God, yeah, we could keep going on this for an hour if we really wanted to. My second bad is a self-owned bad. I watched this movie with my neurodivergent 8-year-old. It was her first time watching it a couple of months ago, and she was having a good enough time with it. And again, because she's neurodivergent, she's got some different needs, and I failed to skip past the part where the Ewok dies. I knew it was coming. And I was telling myself over and over, make sure you skip past that, make sure you skip past it. And I don't know, I got distracted by something and I didn't. And that became a thing. So self-owned bad father, not skipping past the death of the Ewok scene that I knew would haunt my child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched Scream 4 with my daughter yesterday, so there you go.
What did she think of that?
She didn't like the fourth one.
No.
She loves the first three, and the fourth one she's like, I don't know. It was Wes Craven's last film he ever directed. Not that means anything, but it was 11 years after the first three, so
Sure.
it was a little clunky. Well, it was a lot clunky.
I don't think I've ever seen the fourth one.
I'd seen it once, probably around when it came out, so she was even like she assumed I'd remembered it all. I'm like, I don't have a clue. I really don't remember any of who's involved, but it's got your up and comers of the time, like Emma Roberts, Rory Culkin, Hayden Panettiere, like
Yeah.
like they're some of the young bucks in this one. Anna Paquin makes an appearance.
Okay. As Rogue.
As Rogue, yeah. As Suki Stackhouse, actually. What's her name? Kristen Bells makes an appearance.
Okay.
Just like that. Because they were young and that's what they did. So, I mean, it was fine. It's still better than a lot of schlock, but compared, it was like, it was a little clunky.
Yeah, it's in franchise, it's a little lesser.
There's a reason why it was another 11 years before Scream 5 came out.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, Oz, what's your one for Return of the Jedi?
I know that Luke and Leia's rescue of Han was like a year later.
Yeah.
But still, with so many variables and the detailed timing of things, how did Luke possibly plan that rescue at Jabba's palace?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he sent his lightsaber with R2 at the beginning, knowing he was going to at some point. It was a very fun scene to watch.
Mm-hmm.
but it was like it was like a game of mousetrap where
Yeah.
everything had to be in place at the exact moment for it all even to make sense.
Yeah, that was also one of my possible HUDs because
so
there's a lot of ifs, if buts here. Yeah,
yeah, and everything worked. Like, and you could tell by the look on Luke's face, like the Rancor thing, I think caught him off guard.
Yeah.
You know, some things there were some wrinkles in there, but like, how did you get Landau in as a guard for as long as he's been there? And
that was going to be another one of my possible HUDs. Is how did Lando get a job there? Is there like a temp agency in Tatooine?
It just there was just so many moving parts to this scheme, and they all worked. And it's like, okay, like it's a fun scene, but okay.
I'll even give another possible HUD that's tied to this one as well. In the Sarlaac Pit, how did none of Jabba's guards notice Lando and Luke giving each other a gigantic head nod?
I know.
It was like...
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like when Luke's standing there, with his back, like and then like looks at R2 and like,
and he gives like the
looks over at Landau.
Yeah,
he might as well have said, "Go."
Like Luke gives R2 like the butt sign. Like
it's just. Again, we could pick it apart because that's just who we are. But it is a very fun scene. But you really have got to let your thought process.
Yes, you have to suspend your disbelief
because there's so like how did you get all this to work out?
Yeah.
Like
how did you know R2 was going to get assigned to the sail barge? Yeah, like
how did you know Jabba just wasn't going to kill Chewbacca? Like like they just I don't know like. I would have liked to seen the year of planning.
Okay, hear me out, guys.
Yeah, it's a very like Ocean's 11-esque.
It needed those like the different squares, the different panels of like what's going on. And that like fun jazz music playing underneath.
Oh yeah, it would have been fun. It would have been a lot of fun. You got Bernie Mac in there somewhere.
Well, that's another director to add to that. Oh God, who was it that directed Ocean's 11?
Soderbergh?
Yeah, it was Soderbergh. That's right. Steven Soderbergh directs Return of the Jedi.
Everything's just hijinks.
Everything's a heist.
Yeah, everything's a heist, and somehow there's 52 blocks on the screen of all the characters. That's my HUD. What do you got?
Oh God, I just used up 3 of my possible HUDs. And we already
somehow your 3-2-1s have turned into 3-7-9.
And I'm working in whole numbers here. Oh God, let's go with so the speeder troops in the forest on the forest moon of Endor. Do they not have radios? Like they spot the rebels, like Han and Chewie come out. Han steps on the stick, and one speeder guy is like, "Go for help," as opposed to like, hey, we got some rebels here. Just like touches a button on his shoulder.
Get him. There's all those trees. It's probably their reception was poor.
That's probably it. They don't have 5G there.
It reminds me. Yeah, it reminds me of in the Jurassic World. When they started that trilogy over.
Yeah.
And when Bryce Dallas Howard needs to. Like they found out that I don't remember what the giant Indominus Rex.
Yes.
When the Indominus Rex has camouflaged itself, and then she's in the tower, and then gets in the car and starts driving back to like the office, and then she's on the phone telling them to do a certain thing back at the tower that she just left. Like. You could have made the cell phone call from where you were standing, but instead you left the area to drop. And it's just kind of the same thing with the speeders. It's like, go for help. Like, you guys don't have, you would assume they would have radio service in their heads. Yeah, but yeah. Go for help.
Go for help. Fly 20 kilometers.
Off they go.
Can you hear me now?
Right, yeah. It's got to be the reception.
It's bad reception. Yes. They use T-Mobile, that's why.
Yeah. Poor guys. Some regional character using Cricket.
Yeah. I ran out of minutes on my prepaid card.
It's probably Wicket Wireless.
There you go. Well, that, folks, is 1983's Return of the Jedi. Oh, what a fun again for all the what we're dumping on it. It is a fun movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We will be back next week to cover a newer movie, 1987.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're fast forwarding into the future.
Right. We're going to fast forward
1987.
This will be the with the exception of the following week. This is the movie we're going to cover here is the second youngest movie of the month, 1987. Yep. We are going to cover only because, and I did try to jump off of this a couple different times, but this episode next week will debut the day I start school with students, and so which is why I stuck with this pick. We're going to be watching 1987's George Clooney movie, Return to Horror High.
Yes. It's also, by the way, that's also the day where I start back with students as well.
Okay, so it works well. It's a fitting title for both of us. George Clooney plays a police officer in this movie,
Oliver,
and it's like it's early George Clooney.
Oh, like, very early George Clooney.
Maureen McCormick is in this movie.
Oh boy, I watched this movie for the first time a couple of days ago. Oz, boy, is Maureen McCormick in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was told to act that way or what, but that was something else.
And Pepper Martin is in this movie too. And people are like, who's Pepper Martin? If you've seen Superman 2, there is a scene where Superman decides to forego his powers to be with Lois, and he goes to a diner, and in this diner he gets beat up by a man named Rocky. Well, Rocky is played by Pepper Martin.
Ah, there we go.
The only reason I say that is because as I'm rolling through looking at the cast list, I recognize like Pepper Martin's like IMDb face is his mean mugging from Superman 2.
Is that the cameraman, like the heavier guy?
No, he's Chief Daner.
The chief. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie's not good. It's not. I know it's not good.
It tries some stuff. Again, we'll get into this much more next week, but it's trying some things, and it takes everything and throws it at the wall.
Yeah.
Everything.
But it's fun. And it's you go in with this. It's one of your like the kind of run in the 80s where we're gonna any possible idea we have for a horror film, we're just gonna make it.
Yeah.
Even if it reminds people of other horror films, who cares? We're making it anyway. And so this is Return to Horror High that we're going to cover next week. George Clooney gets a lot of props, mainly because George Clooney is now George Clooney. Yeah. Back then he was nothing. But yeah, that's it for this episode. We will be covering it, Return to Horror High, next week. Social media-wise, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. There is a link to Patreon down below if anybody decides that they want to dip in and support the show. But until then, you start school this week. Well, when this airs, you've already started school.
Yes.
You've gone back.
At the time of recording, I'm starting tomorrow. But yes, at the time this airs, I'll have been back for a week or so.
Yeah, so... Well, for Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
We'll see you guys next week with Return to Horror High.